without fail, the most impactful, influential, and life-changing thing you can work on is self-truth. Yet it is the most avoided, burdened, swept under the rug, and left for your future self to deal with the repercussion dynamic I have seen above all. Welcome back to the Future Self podcast. Welcome to a new episode, short, 10 to 20 minutes to spark a different thought, perspective, and idea in your mind that I just know is so influential that I am beyond grateful that you have tuned in. Self-truth is the dynamic that once someone obtains it, refines it, and compounds its ability, their life has changed for the better in every single way, without fail. It is the epitome of what living a life future self is. Talking truth to everyone, but most importantly, self-truth. Talking it to your own self. It is the generator and rocket fuel of self-respect, self-perception, self-confidence, and self-elevation. Without self-truth, you are a person fleeting and floating through life, hoping things work, without any real long-term success, because the foundations you have built, any of what you change or navigate through, are on brittle, crumbly, and very weak backing. Your foundations are brittle. Because how can you build self-perception if it's built on lies? How can you show up for your future self if it's a facade? How can you build real confidence if you act in a way you truly are not? How can you elevate your standard if the standard you are elevating is not one you are interested in keeping up long term? Again, the single most influential thing you can ever do when it comes to showing up for your future self is the dynamic of self-truth. Refining it, learning it, taking it on, and adding it to being part of your personality. So I got a few notes here. Some quite impactful short dot points and short lines, because I just can't fuck up this episode and underserve you on something that is so impactful. The whole benefit of anything in my life comes from a factor of self-truth. But it's not something I've had for a long time. It's something I've really started to wield, refine, and progress over the last 2 years. This was born out of being pitched as somewhat of a liar or a person that I am not, which wasn't the truth at the time. However, I took that experience and ran with it regardless. I took what was detrimental and untrue to be something that I can use as fuel to add absolute strength to my character. That's where I leant deeper and further into speaking truth to others and to myself. Speaking truth to yourself is the most powerful thing you can do to alter your future version. Yet, self-truth stings, but continued lies hurt. Now, when it comes to actually injuring yourself, we would much rather something sting than properly hurt. And truth stings, but lies hurt. Everyone just seems to think lying to their friends, white lies here and there, to their colleagues, to their boss, to their partner, to their family members is the right thing to do because it's avoiding hurting someone's feelings. Yet almost always when the truth comes to light, the pain is so much more intensified and impactful because of those lies. So we said lies to avoid pain, yet by trying to avoid pain, we guaranteed it being 10 times worse than it needed to be. Truth stings, lies hurt. That dynamic is no different when it comes to your own self. Truth stings with your own self, lies hurt. It is the most disgusting and uncomfortable feeling when you sit there and speak truth. I'm overweight because I genuinely don't have enough respect for myself. I am unhealthy because I just don't care to improve it. I am financially struggling because I haven't made any change. I am time poor because I lack the skill of delegating and planning. I am unhappy because of my own actions and choices. I am struggling because of me. I don't look the way I want to look because of me. That is so hard for people to do if they're a finger pointer and a blamer, which is majority of people initially. I was even that person at a point in time. Yet, truth stings, lies hurt. Once you start speaking truth to yourself, you can't sit in that and not do something with it. Yet when you're overweight because of time, because of interest, because of energy, because of your partner, because of work, you have a scapegoat. Why would you do anything about it? It's not your fault. Yet in speaking truth to your own self, it is my fault I am overweight and unhealthy. You would have to have a very low level of self-respect to know that consciously and do nothing about it. Anytime someone tells me the truth, I didn't do that because I couldn't be bothered. I didn't lift heavier because I just didn't care. I didn't track accurately. I wasn't interested. Anytime someone owns a flaw in which they are doing themselves, I hold so much pride and so much positive affirmation for doing so because of how influential speaking that truth is going to be for their future. Yet when they sit there and they blame and they finger point, they scapegoat. So they get away without any internal reflection or ownership. So they never look at it any deeper. Yet when they're unhealthy, because they admittedly own it's their own fault, there's a little bit of curiosity around that. Why is that? How am I okay with this? How did I get to this point? How have things ended up being this way? And then diving into that reflection comes more ownership, and with ownership comes change. I have the point written down right here. Self-truth flows into opportunity. Opportunity flows into ownership. Ownership flows into change. Change to growth. Growth to success. But it all stems back from self-truth. Telling the truth stings, lies hurt. My life has changed so significantly when I started saying the blatant truth to myself about everything. When I can't be fucked, when I'm not interested, when I'm not bothered, when I am being lazy, when my standard is low, when I don't care. Anytime I had the ability to speak the truth, I didn't wake up early because I was lazy. I didn't prep my food because I just didn't care to. I ate takeout because I wanted to. I wasn't interested in my goals. I did A when I know I should have done B, but I just didn't care enough to. Once you start speaking in that language to yourself, my God, will your world change. But almost always we're in the position we're in because of pointing, blaming, other things, other people, misfortunes, unlucky things. So to go from this all of a sudden into speaking truth to yourself, it's a rarity. And that's why people outsource help. That's literally why I've been coaching for 8 years. That's why coaching is my career, because accountability is another person holding you to the truth, holding you to what you need to do, not what you want to do, telling you what needs to be said, not what you want to hear, not being a friend, but being someone that cares deep enough to hurt your feelings, because your feelings are going to be hurt when you have to accept the truth. The idea that someone is overweight and unhealthy, or skinny and unhealthy, or has a health disease and a lack of health because of their own accord feels so gross to hear that. Yet in doing so will change their life. There is no change without ownership, and ownership comes from speaking truth to yourself. To yourself. I created this analogy. A momentary bitter taste is better than the lost ability to ever taste sweet again. We can sit here right now and agree that we'd rather taste something that's kind of bitter, actually taste it physically. We're talking about food. Physically taste something that's bitter compared to losing the ability to taste anything that's sweet ever again. That is an analogy representation of truth. Truth stings, Lies hurt. Truth is bitter. Lies lose your ability to ever taste sweet again. Sweet being happiness, confidence, feeling proud, achievement, potential, excitement, interest. So we'd rather taste a bitter moment. Something tastes gross for a moment. Life is the way it is because of me and my lack thereof, or my doings that are the wrong things. Bitter, gross, ill. However, in tasting that bitter, we have the ability to taste sweet at some point in the future. The happiness, the proud, the interest, the motivation, the self-backing, the confidence, the perception. Without self-truth, self-trust is weak. Without self-truth, self-perception is low. Without self-truth, self-backing is a facade. Trust is weak, perception is low, backing is a facade without self-truth. Are you starting to realize now how impactful this fucking thing is? Comment down below a reason as to why your life is the way it is that's not your fault. And nothing will change from that. Comment down below a reason your life is the way it is that is your fault. You have the potent opportunity opened up right in front of you to go and do something about it. The most influential journeys I have ever worked with over my 8 years of coaching all comes from someone taking ownership, which comes from telling themselves the truth. I have never ever seen someone transform and change their life when they consistently tell lies. I hold so much pity and sympathy for people I knowingly are going through life telling nothing but lies, that they're happy, that they're proud, that they like their job, their body, their partner, their friends, when I know they don't. It is so sad to see. Yet they're so scared of speaking the truth because it's bitter for a moment, it stings for a moment. They're willing to live in pain their whole continued life, just to avoid that single moment. A handful of moments of bitterness and stinging avoids a lifetime of pain and the loss of ability to ever taste sweet again. When you can speak truth to yourself, you lose so much interest in putting up with others, lies, lack of respect, boundaries, burdens, gossiping and bitching, lack of honesty. Once I started speaking truth to myself, my patience and open radar of putting up with other people's shit, from lies to excuses to gossip to fucking finger pointing, the lack thereof, just grew so paper thin. Why? Because when I started speaking truth to myself, I didn't want to listen to these people push away their ownership and their lack of truth. So if you have friends that gossip, they're bitching about people all the time, they're hating on you, they're bringing you down, but for some reason you stay in that friendship, the more you start speaking truth to yourself, the less patience you'll have, the less interest you will continue to navigate through with people that just point and blame. Self-truth is so damn significant. If there's only one thing I could change in your life, it would be that. If you had 6 months left to live and I had the willing power to give you one trait, it would be self-truth. That's it. If I could only ever help you with one thing ever, it would be self-truth. If I leave this world only having worked on one thing, I will leave so fucking proud and fulfilled if I know it was giving people the opportunity, encouragement, and push towards speaking truth to themselves. This is the Future Self podcast, and your future self deserves it. So start speaking truth to yourself, and my God, your life will change. I'll see you in 6 months when you come back to this episode with a comment update of how much your life has changed because you spoke the truth.